Hey, Team Six, you guys are doing a great job in the discussion boards again this week. There's a lot of talk about IVF, and a lot of you guys have some really interesting ideas about this. I think it's interesting the empathy that you guys show and understanding these things. Some of you guys talked about how difficult it must be if it's not successful, which is very true. It's very well documented that IV treatments or IVF treatments that don't end in pregnancy can be really difficult. There's some articles that I've read that it's sort of a grieving process that the parents go through. It's all of the stages of grieving, denial and acceptance and anger and all of those things. So I think that's interesting that you guys understood that. One of the other things that is sort of overlooked is that's well documented in the scientific journals is the emotional or the psychological toll that the treatments themselves take. A lot of you guys talked about it's expensive, it's probably time consuming. Some of you guys talked about the hormones and it must be difficult. I think that's a difficult part of it as well. I think that's a good connection that you guys are drawing. But it's also a difficult I'm trying to remember, and I'll see if I can find the article that I was reading, but it was a case study of 3 women who were going through IVF, and one of the commonalities that all 3 women had talked about was sort of a frustration, of sort of feeling like they weren't enough, like their bodies, their female anatomy was not working the way it was supposed to be, so it made them feel like they were broken or rejected. There was also a fear from a couple of the women that their partners would leave them. Even though the partner had not indicated that they would, they feared that the partner would leave them because they couldn't provide children. So I think there's a larger emotional toll in infertility itself and not necessarily in the treatments, although it is really well documented that IVF treatments that don't lead to pregnancy can be emotionally devastating for couples. So I thought that was really interesting. The other thing that I think Cooper found the article that talked about the statistical numbers of babies that are being born via IVF or other infertility treatments has significantly increased in the last like 15, 20 years, and that number is likely to increase. I think that's really true for a couple of reasons. One, I think there's less of a stigma attached to these treatments as there was before. I mean, in 1978, when the first IVF baby was born, she was called a test tube baby, which sort of makes the process sound very sterile and very unhumane. And today, I don't think that's how we think of the process in society in general. The other thing about it is women are waiting later and later. And I think, Jessica, you brought up that point that women are waiting into their late 20s, even late 30s, sometimes early 40s before they have children. And fertility significantly decreases by age 30. So clearly this is going to be more necessary as more women put off childbearing years. And the other part of it is the technology is continually improving, and it's significantly less expensive now than it was 20 years ago, even though it is still very, very expensive, and that cost itself can be a barrier to receiving IVF treatment. So anyway, really interesting ideas. You guys are doing a great job, and I'll see if I can find that article. If not, don't hold your breath. Have a great weekend, guys.